What's up, everyone? Welcome back to J&G Podcast. Today we'll dive into one of the biggest keys to success in the military relationship. I believe it's communication and trust. Whether you are facing a deployment, late night shift, or unexpected relocation, I think communication and trust is what hold everything down together.
Just any relationship, really. It doesn't have to be military related. Any relationship is all about trust. Even a friendship is all about trust and communication.
From your point of view, what do you think was the key thing that made you trust in me and have a good communication while either I was away from the field or as a spouse, you're thinking about how to trust even though I got to deal with females at work, and either I was in charge of females or female was in charge of me. I know probably, because let's be honest, a military relationship is not for the weak.
No.
It's not for the weak. If you have a weak mind, I think you're going to struggle.
Either you build a strong mind in the process or it's not going to work out, unfortunately.
Especially if you're a jealous type of person, either go for both ways, for the man or the woman.
And it all comes back to that, building that trust and that communication. That is always key. It is tough still, just like we all struggle with that. I feel like trust and communication is something that we all struggle, and it's very difficult to deal with, especially when your spouse gets shipped out with a female or the opposite sex. It's something very difficult to handle. And that's one of the main reasons why I didn't want to date someone who was in the service, because I knew that that was going to be a challenge for me and for the other person. And I know I was going to be tested in all type of ways.
We got tested in every type of way.
Not just in that area, but in many different type of areas. A lot of patience.
Don't bring it on patience. I learned to have patience. There was no choice. You had to learn how to have patience.
That's something that I'm still struggling with, patience. But as I became a mom, developing that skill. So let's go back to that question. It was tough for sure, but I would say communication, trying to stay positive and trusting you, even though a lot of times it was very difficult to trust you and trust the process of whatever you were doing. But just trying to stay focused, believing in you as hard as it was, knowing that you were commitment, a lot of reassurance. I'm a person who needs to be reassured a lot. And for you to communicate with me, not for me to be asking, what are you doing, this, that. I need for you to communicate that to me, not just for me to take everything out of your mouth. I know a lot of times it's tough, especially when you're doing missions and stuff like that. Obviously, you can be on your phone like that. So that's another thing that it's tough to be like, oh, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and trying to just tell me everything that you're doing all day. It gets to a point that is overwhelming for you because you feel like I'm babysitting you or you reporting to me for everything. I'm your boss or something like that. But at the beginning, I feel like it's just a process. The beginning of the relationship and the whole process of being a military wife was just gaining that trust and you communicating things to me. But as time went on and you reassuring me and communicating with me and the way we handle certain problems as it arises, I began to build more that trust. And I feel like that's how we made that connection and that bond and that trust stronger.
I think at the beginning, like you said, was difficult because I felt, man, I already got to report everything to my leader. Now I got to report to you too. So having you on top of me too at the beginning was extra. And you're not going to understand everything.
Exactly, for sure.
You're not going to understand. So for me, what's the whole point explaining you all this thing what I'm doing if you don't understand it? Because yes, you're not in, but at the same time you are in because you're part of my life.
The process.
But you be like, oh, why you have to do this? I'm like, bro, it's like, don't worry about why I had to do this. That's the way it works, and then I have to do it. I don't know what time I'll get home because sometimes we jump at daytime when we was doing the airborne operation. Sometimes when we jump, it's a whole day process.
I just thought they would just jump, go to the airport, whatever time they were supposed to get there, and just jump.
But
that's
when
it.
anything happened, plane get damaged, Now we have to wait for another plan.
It was never the time that they will say it will happen.
So when those type of situations come in and I'm jumping, don't wait for me to come home a specific time whenever I get home.
And I learned that as we go. Like I said, it's something that as we continue going in the relationship, it's something that you start learning and learning how to work it, I guess. For me, the whole thing, it was an adjustment too, you know what I mean? I can see now for sure how annoying that could be. I had to report everything to me so I can be in the loop and I can be calm and reassured that everything is good and what you're doing, or that you can be on the phone. But also for me, it was an adjustment because everything was new. I didn't even know most of the things that you were doing, what it meant, or it didn't even make sense. Of course, it's the Army. If it's the Army, it doesn't make sense. That's the first thing you have to learn. Yeah. Seriously, if it comes from the Army, it just doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, that's what the Army is doing.
I think what helped us a lot to have a better communication and trusting each other, it was the military marriage retreat.
For sure.
I felt that was an eye-opening for us to see that a lot of the couple problems we was having, those issues, it was minor issue that a lot of other couples was having too.
That we were able to relate. That it was not just us going through that.
It was not a you thing or a me thing.
Other women were the same way or have the same behavior or the same issue, and the same thing with men. So it's not just us, it's common. And one thing about having a couple is figuring out and knowing that we are different. As much as sometimes we want to be the same, we are not the same. Like us women, we act completely different than men, and we will behave and handle situations differently than they do. So that's one thing I feel like it helped us out a lot once we figured that out.
And once we unlocked that skill, it took our relationship to the next level.
For sure. I feel like that really, we just unlocked a new level in our relationship. And also another thing was surrounding ourselves with other couples that were stable like us and had the same goals as us. It's okay, honey. And also not hanging out with single people. So if you marry, you cannot be surrounding yourself with single people. What happened? She just woke up, so she's a little bit cranky, but we're trying to finish this episode. But for sure,
nothing wrong. We're not saying you can't have single friends. I'm just saying you just gotta be careful because if you start hanging out, they're gonna have a different lifestyle than people that has kids or they marry and they have different goals.
And a lot of the time they won't understand when you have to report to your wife or your husband, or your responsibility as a wife or as a husband or as a parent is not the same. So I feel like that's another big thing.
And at the end of the day, I believe trust and communication. It's just not believing that your partner won't cheat. It's not.
I would say to give the benefit of the doubt. That's another thing. Your partner is not there to get you, to make you miserable. You just have to trust. Unless, of course, they're giving you reason. That's another thing. Yeah. If they are acting suspicious and giving you the reason for you to be jealous and have those thoughts, then that's a different deal. But otherwise, if they are communicating with you, letting you know what's going on, you just have to trust them. That commitment that you two agreed to have when you decide to marry each other.
For sure. We would love to hear from you guys. If you guys experience any advice or tip that we missed. I'm pretty sure what worked for us, that's not going to work for everybody.
Right.
So we would love to hear more from everybody's experience.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
We'll see you next time.